and even when they consolidate power, they're still geopolitically in a precarious situation. They're like a threat to all the other established nations, and so they're going to be sort of besieged, right? And they have to be on constant alert against, on guard against internal and external threats. But what I was trying to point out with this example of this Chinese YouTuber guy was that he explained how the influx of investment creates a depression in the periphery where the investment doesn't go, and that creates a necessity for an influx of migration. So that when you have a concentration of investment in a particular area, then all the other areas around are going to lack investment and are going to get inflation because that center of investment is going to have more like more purchase power. And so therefore that explains like not only at a national level but also like at a multinational level how nations that can concentrate great amount of investment are necessarily going to attract massive amounts of migration. And if that is not controlled, then it's going to happen one way or another. So I don't know how
Yeah,
the migration situation is in Singapore, but I'm pretty sure you have like pretty strict policies
yeah,
to avoid
very
getting
very strict
flooded.
because we are so small. So everybody want to work here.
And you're also
Because everybody
rich.
want to, yeah, because we're so rich. So so everybody want to move here to work here and earn money and bring back to their own country. So we have super strict immigration policies. So I think, yeah, I think that's why I my problem with the China's economic system is that it's not normal, because like what you say, when there's a lot of investment coming into a place, then there should be an increase in there's an inflation, they become richer, and then this richer place will start to be able to buy out things from the neighboring side. But so, which means like Singapore, as we get richer and richer, we start to stop farming, we start to stop fishing, we start to just buy from the neighbors. Yes, it raised the price maybe because we are buying more from them, so they have no, so they earn more money, but then the cost of the things will increase. But you see, there's a trade. You see, it will be a trade. So we earn more money, and then we buy stuff from them. They also earn money. But in China's case, they don't have this. You see, they because they suppress their currency to the point where even if they are richer, people keep boasting on even they are not Chinese, they're boasting, they are so proud about China having $1 trillion in surplus in trade, but they never ask why the Chinese are not getting it's not like having their currency stronger so they can buy more from the neighbors because they are now richer, right? No, they don't have this problem. They don't have this effect. It's abnormal economics. So that destroys how economics works, because now not just all the wealth is going to you, but your goods continue to be so cheap that you are killing everybody else. Everybody cannot do business. They just cannot sell anything, and then you don't
Yeah,
buy
but
things from there as well.
correct me if I'm wrong, Wyatt, but I've heard news lately that China has actually been strengthening the currency lately, like in the since the tariff war. So I've heard several reports lately of China actually strengthening. So maybe they're starting to change that. Maybe they also realize what you're saying, and or maybe it's just ripe for. But they're also starting to increase their imports and strengthening their currency. So I don't know. Maybe it's part of the propaganda, or maybe there's something to that.
So from what I'm looking at the graph, their their strengthening is very small. Like, they were way stronger when they were like before COVID. They were way stronger before COVID. So now it's like still like a 0.02 away from from 2022. So yeah. So So not yet. I think they are still far away from it. So they are appreciating. They are playing because they know they need control. So they are controlling everything. Like a game. They have to put everything on their level and move and yeah. But that's a China thing. So yeah. My problem is only that I people keep thinking I'm anti China. I'm not anti China. I'm anti CCP, and and I'm only anti CCP is because of their policies, their foreign policy, their economic policies. If they change it, then I have no problem with them. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I get the impression, Wyatt, that what you say has a real good point. Like I do understand that there's a lot of banter in the issue of China, and it's fun. Same with the U.S. Like sometimes they're going to defend the U.S., sometimes they're going to attack them,
yeah,
bash them. But I think that you have a good point with your like projection of sort of if China's trajectory continues in this sense, it will be unacceptable for the rest of the world. And I do
it,
think
it,
that
it
if
is
China has
already
any sense,
unacceptable right now.
if China has any sense, they should take that into account. Like they should be seeing the same thing that you're seeing, and they should like use that surplus of resources to invest in the world, to develop their economies, so that they can balance the trade. That should be happening, except with the United States, because the United States has stated, clearly that they want to contain or they want to confront
No,
China.
I think
China,
China knows what's happening. The problem is they can't. So that was the reason why I was reporting on China like half a year ago. I was saying about how no, I was reporting about the $1 trillion surplus, and I say that no, they are going to double down further, and increase the surplus even further because their economy is already fucked. They have to have this increased surplus. It's like it's not it's really like they don't have a choice. They don't have much things left, and then that's why they are investing further into technology, into the new tech, AI, robotics, the electric cars and everything. So because that is what they have to do. They have no choice. Because the traditional industries, the traditional stuff, the real estates and everything is already broken inside of China. It's all bubble and burst, and now they have to double down on the other stuff. And the only bright side in their economy is the export. So they have to double down on export, and which is why United States know that was their only thing left, which is why they're trying to trade war them and try to pull them, force twist their arms to change them. And of course, China under in the geopolitical sense, no, they cannot lose, they cannot just surrender to the Americans. So they are doubling down on everything else that they have a lead, in technology, robotics, drones, whatever. No, they're doubling down on this and hope that something positive is going to happen. So it is because whatever the system is already unsustainable. If you see how the Chinese are out competing everybody, in Europe, in Asia, in manufacturing, no matter even low end, mid tier, even high end, they're dominating all the markets, and the reason they are dominating is because their cost is so low, then because of the currency is still depressed as compared to where it should be. So
yeah,
yeah,
there's also the whole supply chains and heavy industry investment, energy investment, consumption. So like yeah, out competing Europe isn't very remarkable today when Europe is like actively sabotaging itself, to the core. They're kneecapping themselves, um, and so like I understand that tendencies in economic terms, just as in historic terms, are they have a very strong inertia. Like they cannot be changed dramatically. Um, but in that sense, in the same sense, like the I think that the centralized power structure of the party it has more maneuverability, so they can influence more change than, for example, in the American side, where like the government is like a symbolic power. It basically exists to serve the economic interests of the country. So like you can probably like China can burst their own real estate bubble, and like fuck it, these guys, the all these investors that were all these bubble companies of real estate and construction, they can screw themselves. While as in America, the government has to bail them out. You know, so sort of the economic structure has to maintain itself no matter what, because the government is subservient to the economic structure. Whereas in China, they can force the situation according to like their
Actually,
necessities. So
I somewhat disagree. The Chinese actually constantly bail out their companies in China. So they, as particularly state owned, is if it's private owned, of course mostly they would let them die, unless they are very huge. uh but the thing is, when you're very huge, usually you will get, you'll get the coffee session, and then you'll become a communist party member. So and then but once you become a communist or state linked government, state linked company, then you're going to get bailed out some point. So that is also the something warped about the Chinese economy, because of the top state level controlled centralized system. In United States, the companies by right cannot be bailed out. No, that is by right, not their system. The bailing out only happens because of Obama's decision. I think Obama, or is it Bush? I cannot remember who is the one. I think it's Obama. They bailed out.
both.
When the bank failed, right? The subprime crisis, they decided to bail them out. That is actually very capitalism. That is actually not normal. You should let them crash, and then you build up. No, that because they pump in so much money. If they have used those money and just buy out all the bank, nationalize all the bank, because they all failed already, right? You just buy out the bank, re-establish the whole banking system again, and then let them privatize the companies later. United States will be at least double more powerful than it is today. I think, but the thing is that because they build them out, so the what's supposed to fail did not fail, and that is actually not normal. So that's why I say it's a bit opposite. In China,
Well,
is
it's
that
funny.
what's supposed to fail, they cannot allow them to fail, because it's a communist country. They cannot allow them to fail, because once the people fail, the citizens lose money in their investment, particularly housing, real estate. This is going to create social problems. So the Communist Party must intervene. That's what they happened. They intervene, but the scale of the problem for the real estate is very huge. So they can only help part of it, and they cannot save the whole industry because the bubble is too big. Even the government cannot save the whole thing outright. In United States, the this entire bailing out of the banks is abnormal at all. It's totally abnormal. It's never supposed to happen. It should be like the Great Depression. They just let them collapse. But yeah, so but you say they are more agile. Because I would say it's because they it's a bit like the emperor's rule, right? They once the emperor says something, things change. In United States, it's super slow, which is why Donald Trump is forcing it. You see, if you see what Donald Trump is doing, because from the what people don't see is that the Trump administration is in this crisis mode. That's why they are pushing everything very quickly. They are really forcing things because they have no time, and he have no time. He is old, and he only have 4 years. And in his first term, he learned the lesson that he actually don't have time, and that other politicians cannot be trusted. When he lost the election in 2000, then 2020, Biden took over, and immediately dismantled so much of the good things that he has done. So he realized that this is dangerous, that he must do faster. So which is why he's racing. Agree or disagree about his policy positions or what he do. I mean, a lot of people disagree with what he's doing, but he is rushing. He is rushing because there's no more time.
Well,
China
yeah,
is
I
at a
agree with that. I
crossroad.
agree
You
with that,
see.
and I even agree with most of the intentions of the policy. Like we can discuss if it's a smart approach to the problem or not so smart. But the fact is, it's like I totally agree with what you're saying. It clearly represents a state of emergency, and that's why they're so drastic measures because it's desperate times, require desperate measures, and yeah, that's what they're doing, and he's trying to adopt some of this like top down hierarchical structure to be able to make decisions on the contingencies, which is something that, and as you say, like systems do have, you know in a very mechanical sense, should have fail safes, like in a mechanism, in a car, in electricity, whatever. You have valves, or you have like mechanisms that should break when something goes wrong, so that the entire system isn't compromised. By the same thing with structural engineering, you have some weak point that should break, so that the entire system, so that energy is released through there and the entire system doesn't break because of the failure. And what we saw during the 2008 crisis is the failure of that failsafe, right? We saw, and that's why what I'm talking about, how like you can see the priorities, in the hierarchical structure, how they prioritize, protecting these mega investment banks,
Yeah, because their
and
money is
and
in it.
and so yeah,
Because their
too
own
big
money is
to
in it.
fail. They rescued all these too big to fail, and they have never recovered from that, because the center of power shifted away from the presidency into these oligarchic structures that have actual control over the government. And so yeah, like it's a complicated situation, because once the power has shifted away, there's not very much a government can do if it doesn't have the power, right? So even if Trump is trying to change that, we're going to see how far he can actually go. And I think that's why it seems so erratic from our perspective, like he's doing this one day and then he's doing the other thing, and it's very unpredictable. And maybe the whole point of that is precisely to weaken, because all of this tariff policy is extremely unpredictable. Like, and one of the main issues with investment and business development and all of that is predictability. Like, you can have terrible laws, you can have the worst possible laws, but if they're predictable, then you put that in the equation. So you can say, okay, I might get a massive tax, and so for everything that I budget, I have to add 30% extra, but you bake it into the equation, okay, and you can do business. You just lift your costs to whatever threshold that is in that policy. When it's unpredictable, it's terrible. You have no idea how much you're going to have to pay for your supplies. You have no idea how much you're going to have to sell your product. It's a disaster. And maybe one of the points of that is precisely to put all the oligarchs in line. Like, okay, you guys need to shut up and listen, or you're
He
going to
did.
Yeah,
go bankrupt. So
yeah,
come
yeah,
and
man. I think like
Benjamin.
what you said about Trump, he's actually acting like he's running out of time because he understands that. And I agree. I think like we saw like some of his executive orders have been challenged as being, unconstitutional. And I've heard a lot of people talk about problems with some of like he fired a prosecutor, but he didn't really have a case in the first place. And the libtards were up in arms about that. Like, oh my God, he's weaponizing, like the courts or whatever. And it's like, I would rather Donald Trump pass like an executive order that isn't perfect, because at least it shows that he's working and he's like trying to make things happen. Because like there's it's not like people play fair. It's like, they were like, the FBI raided his house. Okay, like, so it's like it's weaponized whether you like it or not. And I think that what I'm happy about is that it looks like Trump is actually doing something. He could easily just coast, but he's not.
Yeah.
Over.
So, I mean, because people don't. Yeah, it's just a partition thing, right? Like people forget. People who are anti-Trump forget that how Trump is like, yeah, getting weapon, having the government weaponized against him even before he was even president for the first time. Now the Obama thing, is getting thrown up inside United States. A lot of things, like crazy things, uh, like Biden is like funding child trafficking, and then how Obama is making them the change, like hide certain information or manipulate certain information to create an excuse to investigate or monitor or wiretap Trump and all these things. It's like, and I don't even want to talk about it. Like I don't even want to like go through it because people who are anti-Trump won't believe in it. But it is what people have been talking about for a long time. And then now, they are investigating it right now. The problem is that they are now so partisan on two sides. Like, even when they say you are not even sure if you should believe it or not, because the government is already weaponized. So, high upgrade. Any opinions about Greta? No. How upon 10, how many points will you rate her? I mean, her activism, the effectiveness of her activism.
Honestly speaking, I don't have an opinion about her because I don't care too much about her. But yeah, she's good. She every time she's doing something, you can at least give her that point that people talking about her, even if you like her or hate her. So yeah, that's basically it, right? I don't think we should start this topic right now about Greta, but it's enough.
Yeah, is there any topic you want to talk about? Because we are like, we are
You're
beating
just being a
the freaking,
nationalist.
yeah, the China horse. We keep beating the China horse, like,
What about Ukraine? Did you talk about Ukraine?
not
Not
yet.
at all.
That's why you see Vaughn left, because he's like, fuck this shit, it's always talking
Oh,
about
really?
philosophy
I
and
think I'll come back if he hears Ukraine. For sure.
Hey,
he's like,
Vaughn was all in on it, and then he left before talking about Ukraine. So it's on
Oh.
him. I
Oh,
blame
that's
him.
Mm.
Anyway, I think that Upgrade is defending Greta because he's actually a nationalist.
Okay.
Super chat, Johari say, why just a question, do you think our neighbors know about Singapore-Israel relationship, since SG Army model after them as well as our equipment?
Yeah.
For sure now they know, because now we openly talk about it, but for 40 years we never talk about it. 45 years we never talk about it. So I think the neighbors probably was trying very hard through their intel networks to try to figure out how who is helping us into developing our military, and and I think they probably figured it out maybe 10-15 years after the fact, maybe. Yeah, I think they definitely know it before it was public information. And the thing is that even if they know it, they cannot say that they know it. Like so I think I explained before, right? What is secret and what is top secret? Secret is what you know about your enemy. The top secret is what the enemy do not know about yourself. So any of this information, like about what you know about the enemy, might reveal what is your own capability. So it's a top secret information. If they know that Singapore have a close relationship with Israel, either Indonesia or Malaysia will have to keep quiet about it. They cannot talk about it, because that will reveal that they have intel network in Singapore. or they have infiltrated into our military. So I don't think, they probably know it much earlier, because it's abnormal for a country like Singapore, like, suddenly, having a very effective military capability. And the rumors that we set upon the time, we said we call the Israelis Mexicans. I'm quite sure the Malaysians or the Indonesians will be like, going to Mexico and talk to the Mexican government or whatnot to try to figure out, is it really the Mexicans that is helping us with the military? Yeah, so it is.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's one of the liabilities of Israel, right? One of the things that the American patriots complain about their, best ally is that it shares intel with the rivals. Like there's a huge issue with Israel sharing technology and intel with China, and a lot of Americans are pissed about that, and that's one of the reasons why they complain about Israel. And so, the same thing is probably the case with Singapore as well. Like, what would stop Israel from sharing intel of Singapore's military with the neighbors?
Yeah,
That
so
would
we
be
don't share everything with them. That's the thing. Like, no, people don't understand. We don't have we have very close relationship with Israel. Doesn't mean that we share everything with them. Like, it's still, it's just like how secret works, right? When you handle secret documents, it's a need to know basis. So we will share to Israel what they need to know in order to help to develop whatever system that we are working with them with, but we are not going to share more. They wouldn't know much more than what, like, the similar things happen on the opposite side. Israel is not going to share everything with us. No, we cannot be trusted as well, because we do have Muslims within our population. Who, so they definitely will not trust us 100% as well. So but it's a friendship, just like you and your best friend, you don't share which porn site you watch, right? You have your own secrets, right? You don't share where, what is your like what kind of disgusting thing that you do at night. So
You don't tell your best friend what you did with his girlfriend before they met.
yeah, you cannot say that, But but you raise a good point about how Israel is willing to work with the enemies of their basically sponsors, right? That's why I always say, Israel will switch sides very quickly in the event of United States cutting them off. This is a good example. I'm quite sure they are very ready to just, they will just buy Russian, or they just buy Chinese, and they have no qualms about it. That's what I think about. This is my opinion of how Israel operates, which is why I always say, don't, and don't underestimate them, their ability to just pivot away from what you are used to. They have no allegiance to anybody. Like, that is the Israeli way of doing things. So, which is why they are willing to just bomb Qatar, and don't give a fuck, because they are always this don't give a fuck country. So, yeah. So, but it's an interesting thing also that Singapore and Israel have a similar situation in the beginning of our countries, is that nobody want to help us. Nobody actually wanted to help Israel. People might think that the Americans are trying to help them, but it's not the country. The country don't want to help. There are elements, there are people, civilians wanted to help. They sent money because they are Zionists. But the countries don't want to help. United States don't want to help. UK don't want to help. Similar, Singapore actually have the same situation. UK don't want to help. United States don't want to help. India don't want to help as well. We actually approached India. India don't want to help. No one want to help. So Israel eventually found Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic to help them, to sell them weapons from World War II. That's how they managed to fight. For us, we managed to got help from Israel. And although Israel is also very nice, they did make a point that they will not sell Israeli stuff to us. It's like, it's a policy that don't let Singapore pick their own stuff, or find weapons that is suitable for them, or it can be any supplier. It doesn't have to be Israeli, unless they choose to. So they have this they have this freedom given to Singapore, and that's why we buy from all over the place. Eventually we did buy some Israeli stuff, but like some of the AMX 13, and then I read that the tanks that they reach, because these are all used in the war, so they all have holes in it because they all seen combat, and then we have to patch it up to use the AMX 13 to build up our tank fleet. So I mean, this is the interesting similarities, which is why we were close in that sense. It's like we have a lot of similarities in that way. But then, as you see, 50 years down the road, they have went on a totally different path. You see, they went on this crusade against the world, whereas Singapore went the opposite way. We tried to work with the world. So, yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be what they choose.
Well, it's a really interesting.
Just a second, Wyatt. I'm sorry if I missed the context, but why did you say that nobody wanted to sell arms to Singapore back in the day?
No, nobody want to help us to set up the military. Nobody want to teach
Why
us
that?
how to form a military. Because nobody believed we will survive. The same thing happened to Israel. Nobody believes Israel is going to survive. If you read the context of those days, when the Israelis are ready for war, everybody know war is going to break out between the Arabs and Israel. No one want to help the Israelis because they know that they think they know that Israel is going to lose the war. Because how are you going to win the war against all the Arab states surrounding you and all going to attack you at the same time? And you're just a totally new country with no army. So nobody want to help the losing side. That's
Concerning the Israel, there's a backstory to it. Actually, back in 1947-48, it was the Soviets who supported them. Stalin was actually angling for of course, because there was a lot of Ashkenazi who actually formed the Israel, the East European Jews. And many, not all of them, but many of them were actually communist or socialist back in the old Europe. So Stalin was angling to create a sort of a socialist or communist version of Israel initially. Now it didn't went there that way after a while, but it was his angle, and he actually allowed Czechoslovakians to sell. He didn't want to do it directly because it would be too problematic for Soviet Union to be directly involved. But he did allow.
So that's how the Czech. Yeah, so that was very interesting because I always wondered why Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia is that so out of the blue. It's like of all the countries in the world, why is it Czechoslovakia? I was thinking.
Because
so now
part
I
of the
think that's a good
Warsaw
point.
Pact, it was a proxy for Russia, for the USSR actually.
Yeah,
Was
but
the USSR trying to,
but
with
it's super
plausible
weird,
deniability,
but
because it didn't
from
want
from
to-
no context, right? For especially for someone who is not in the US, not in the Warsaw Pact, like it's very confusing in the early days when I was reading. It's like, why is it Czech? Why is it Czech? It's so abnormal. So yeah, now that you say that, that makes sense. It's like a proxy through for USSR. That makes so much sense. Rather than trying to step inside and then now then all the Arabs are going to hate the Soviets. I think that makes so much sense.
And similarly,
A lot.
when Israel helped out Singapore, it was also a proxy for Britain.
Do you think so? So far from my understanding of the history, at least from what I read, it doesn't seem to be that way. Because the British have the military base already in Singapore. So if they want to help us to form, I mean they don't want to help because of Malaysia as well. So yeah, I mean that's a possibility.
Because that is the pattern, right? So like the Soviet Union has part of Iran and has influence in the Middle East, and it doesn't want to incite the ire of the neighbors of Israel, and so it does it through a proxy. And the same way, Britain has Hong Kong back in that, and it has
Malaysia as well. Malaysia is also under their influence. So
and Malaysia, and so they don't want to create a conflict with its own allies / influence, and so it does it through and the same thing also happened with Israel the other way around. Like both the British and the Americans didn't want to create conflict with the Arabs, with which they had a lot of deals on oil, and so they did it through the privates, through the sort of the Jewish nationals of Britain and of America to send them weapons like under the rug, so that they don't, make they don't compromise their deals in the Middle East. Go on, Vaughn.
Oh, I was just thinking, or maybe it was just a way to get back at like Britain and some of the older European countries that didn't help Israel when they needed help or withheld weapons that they paid for and stuff like that.
But it was 1965 though.
They did conduct tests. Well, I know, but they did conduct terrorism stuff against Britain and stuff. Maybe it was just some unfinished pettiness on their part. Also help Singapore. That undermines Britain. One last jab.
The
I'm just saying. I don't know. I mean, there might have been some bad blood still back then that they would have helped out.
So Lagrange Way say that Israel want to export their military stuff to Singapore. Actually, that's not true. You have to look at the geopolitical scene. Then Israel has very little friends. So if they can get any friends, they try. So which is why it's not difficult for them. They only sent like a few of their soldiers, only a few, like to help to set up the initial military. So it's a very small investment for Israel to build a long-term friendship and relationship with Singapore. So and we don't really buy that much Israeli stuff. Like we do buy some, but not much. We always buy American mostly. We used to buy a lot more of French and stuff. But the French stopped building good shit. Now they're all rubbish. Agree is like yes.
Yeah, I think like what I'm starting to realize is that it's kind of a general thing with Israel is that they like to do a lot of arms sales, and like this is what Iran Contra was, and I think this is what what's his face Maxwell, the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, was kind of involved in. So it's all a little bit related, with them, but they were known for selling like stuff to, I think they were like backing one side in the Iran-Iraq war, and I think like Vietnam at one point. So that's what they do. They subvert the United States and are like they sell to countries that we would not sell to, and sometimes they like do things like transfer like second-hand equipment, and it's kind of a business for them.
Yeah, so they are ruthless in that sense. So which is why but my view of Israel is very different from how people view. Like people see Israel and United States tight, like at the waist. Like I don't see it that way. I see like it's a very contentious relationship actually. Like they on the surface they keep having to reinforce that we are very close, but actually behind the scene, right, they are like constantly competing or fighting each other, and it becomes very obvious during the Biden administration. During the Trump administration, Trump is still much better at putting up a show, but but you can see that by his decision making, he's very pissed off with the Israeli, because Israel is making Trump's foreign policy or diplomacy much more difficult, like make it very very complicated for Trump. And Trump wanted that victory, right? He wanted the peace, he wanted the things to succeed, so that he looks good as well, and to show that he's a peace president. But like the Israel is making it so difficult for him. He's like, how can he not be pissed? Trump has a huge ego, so. But that's why I think.
Do you wanna go on, and since we're kind of on Israel, and talk about what might happen after the deadline runs out on Hamas?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was joking around. I said they'll start bombing Iran, but I mean, I don't really know what you could do to Hamas other than target more people that you think where they're at. Maybe there's some in Iran or Qatar or something. But I don't know. Maybe they bomb Iran to say you got to get your proxy to agree to this deal. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I assume something's going to happen. I just don't know what they could really do other than
But Trump already,
Yeah, well,
said so many times, shit is gonna hit the fan for them, for Hamas. But like at least 2 times already. So how much more shit can he throw at the fan? I'm not so sure.
No, I suggest
Yeah, well,
we move on a topic. We move on a topic of a new round of war against Iran, because everything seems to be gearing up towards it. American deployment.
yeah.
Oh, hi, Brian. American deployment in the Middle East definitely points towards this kind of build-up for major war, major round war.
Yeah, and Iran is preparing for it as well. They gotten some MiG-29s for the stand-in. I think they bought Sukhoi 35. I think so. They have some MiG-29 for stand-in.
I
They
don't.
get
I don't
SAM
think.
from
I don't
China.
think. I don't think the 35s have been delivered because they were still. I think they were still training on them and stuff. I mean, they
Yeah.
might have a few, but I don't think they have an operational amount. But I think the 29s they were pretty easy for them because they've had them before. So I think they just bumped them up and maybe
Yeah, well, there's
took
been
some pilots
an
back.
escalation in the diplomatic sphere. Like massive cargoes have gone from Israel to Ukraine, and massive cargoes have gone from Russia to Iran. What is in that? We have no idea. Maybe it's planes. Maybe it's just ordnance. We don't really know what's been sent to Ukraine either. But the most likely scenario is that it's drones for their long-range strikes. Go on, Bojan.
I don't think that it makes sense for Iran to bet on aircraft at this moment of time because they can get only in homeopathic amounts. So
Can
maybe
everyone hear
two
Bojan
dozen,
okay? I'm hearing him super low.
super low.
Now it's better.
Okay,
I adjust him higher. I adjust him higher.
thanks. I'm using my headset. So that doesn't make sense for Iran, I think, to bet on airplanes right now, because they can get only homeopathic amounts of them. So like dozen, 2,000, 3,000 maybe, and they would be the first targets of America and Israel. So they would lure them into situations which they can take care of in these low amounts. So they would get wasted very very quickly. So in my thinking is that they are going for ground-based surface-to-air missiles, and this makes much more sense for them.
Hey, but doesn't
I mean,
Iran
I real
They
quick.
still
I mean,
they still need airplanes.
yeah. I
They
mean,
still need
but I
airplanes
agree with Boyd.
to
I
cover
mean,
the drones.
I agree with Boyd. I mean,
Yes.
the Air Force probably isn't going to do a lot. And I mean, I know they've been trying to upgrade their air defense, but I mean, is the amount of time they've had really been long enough to get it upgraded, integrated, and people that they feel are competent enough on the system to actually provide a defense? I mean, are they going to have Russian technicians running the systems while they, side by side with Iranians? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I know they've been talking about how much stuff they're supposedly doing, but are they actually going to be ready?
Well, the last time they were surprised by the Israelis, basically some agents destroying their air defense capabilities. So this was done not by the Israeli Air Force or stuff, but about what I have understood, mostly by insurgents or paid actors, or Israelis on site, but not by bombing it, but by from air, but with other means. So this time they will probably be more prepared for this situation.
Hey Nunya, good to see you, man. Yeah, like I think the best thing they could do is to like buy a shit ton of Russian, airplane fighter jet decoys. So you put them all over your bases, and it's the first thing that's going to get hit. Also, it must be super screwed, super fucked up to be air defense operator. You're the first thing that's going to get hit. And so you're like waiting for the missiles to come so you can shoot them down before they kill you. It must be really fun.
Sherman Park,
Greetings to everyone in the panel. Well, I'm not much enlightened regarding the arms supply and that particular context, but I would think it's going to end up in a proxy war. Just like because right now the global economy is standing right at a standstill where it was just before World War II. I'm not suggesting that World War III is going to happen, but I think since all the nations are consolidating their companies and everything to themselves, just like they were back then, I think it's going to end up in another proxy war, which might result in another Cold War or a so called Cold War. Because the ultimatum given by Mr. Trump, I saw uh, one of the points where Hamas has agreed to cede its administrative administrative functions to technocrats from Palestine. So I guess it's going to be a bit bumpy. The road is going to be a bit bumpy, and I think it's going to be a proxy war once again. It's not going to be something direct. It's going to be very much like just like you people said, like Israel supplying it to Ukraine, Russia supplying it to Iran. It's going, and Israel is a proxy of US. So maybe Mr. Trump is pissed off at Israel for now, but who knows? Israel is nothing but a proxy or a little brother of USA. So we don't know. We really don't know.
Yeah, I agree that it might, doesn't have to always be World War III, and it pretty much is. Nothing ever happens. It's probably not going to be World War III, and it is a good point that it doesn't, like, in the absence of World War III, what could happen is probably uh, something. If there's a proxy war between Israel and Iran, where that would happen would be probably Syria, and with the chaotic situation in Syria right now, uh, it does seem like something could play out there.
Yeah, well, something that people haven't been talking about a lot, and which is giving me certain suspicion, is actually Lebanon. Now, Lebanon is kind of like a half-cooked cake, so to speak, in the sense that it was pretty battered. It has been consistently bombed throughout this whole ceasefire period, whatever you call ceasefire nowadays. And it's been cut out from Syria. Now, you could argue that there might be some routes of supply by sea. Maybe Russia or someone, China can help out. I'm pretty sure Hezbollah hasn't been cut off completely, but their situation is precarious. They're trying to disarm them. And so, if there's a good place for a proxy war right now, it's probably Lebanon more than Syria, I'd say, because Syria is already cooked. Maybe Iran has some influence there. So Iraq and Syria and Lebanon are the two places that are in a greater peril right now because
Iraq will be affected less, I believe. Iraq will be affected less because it has a waning US influence over it. So Iraq will be less influenced, I believe.
I don't,
Well, yeah, but
I don't get the whole argument of proxy war in Syria. Syria is, I think it's a done deal already. I don't think there will be much more war in Syria,
Bojin,
where Iran is involved.
Bojin.
Well,
Yeah, go
well, I
on.
think Iran will want. I mean, yeah, Iran will want to restore lines of communication to Lebanon, and also they're going to want. It's going to be kind of like an end of World War II situation where they're both trying to carve it up, maybe. But it's kind of hard to say. I'm not really an expert on that country.
My main argument would be that such a war would not hurt Iran a lot. It would be some costs for Iran, for supplying these proxies. But I think that's not the goal for Israel or for the United States. They want to hurt Iran directly.
Yeah, well, let's assume that Hamas.
Who the fuck?
Where the music come from then?
I don't know, but I salute just in case. It's sponsored by the FSB, right? No, no, but let's assume that Hamas is actually sponsored by Iran. If that's the case, you know, they've been able to fight all this time because they've been getting some level of supplies. Now, every person, sort of like from the resistance side at least, says that Hamas has been like the Qassam brigades, all these fighters in Gaza, that they've been arming themselves. They have their own industry. They bake their own shells. They make their own rifles, and they pick up ordnance from the Israeli drops for the IADs. But I think that that's very unlikely. I mean, there's certainly some level of internal production that they have because they can't get the bulk of their supplies, but I don't think that you can be completely besieged for so long and actually have autonomy of production. So if that's the case, then like what I'd assume is that the whole of the Middle East is a complete incomprehensible disaster of logistics spy chains of like contraband spy. So like you have, so that's why you get attacks in Iran, you know, and you get attacks in Turkey. Like you get, I don't know, like Israeli attacks in Iran, and you get weird attacks in Turkey, and you get sort of Palestinian attacks in Israel. Like, so every place is a massive intertwined web of like spies and double agents, you know, and it's a complete disaster, and things are trickling everywhere from all sides. You know, it's like really weird.
I mean, I think the easiest thing is it's the Middle East, and there's been multiple wars, and there's so many fucking guns laying around and hidden and cached and
Mines
passing
and
through the
missiles,
area, going east, west, north, and south. I mean, think about it. They're going into Syria, the Middle East. They're going into Africa. They're going from Africa back into the Middle East up to Ukraine. I mean, it's probably just a golden age for getting guns. I mean, I'm sure they, like you said, they do make some stuff, but I bet you a lot of it, there's just, I mean, that's like the ancient trade routes of the world. So I'm sure there's always a way to get something through. I mean,
especially the Sahel belt in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, if you got
Especially
money,
the Sahel belt in Africa.
yeah, I mean, if you got money, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can
yeah.
get.
So my point is that if Hamas is getting some level of supply in that hypothetical case, then why would Hezbollah be cut off? You know, why would Syrian, Iranian, I don't know, servicemen or spies or whatever, why would they be cut off? Like insurgency forces from Iran, in Lebanon, in even Jordan, in Syria, in Iraq, why would they ever be cut off if the whole place is this convoluted disaster of network from, it's like the oldest, you know, contraband epicenter of the world.
Well, it's like they're smuggling it. You know, that's why Israel has a blockade. That's why they control the borders. And like, yeah, some stuff definitely gets through, but they're not getting like air defenses, and they're not getting like big ticket items or like, you know, large numbers. And I don't think necessarily it has to be Iran. It could be like all sorts of other, you know, like Hamas aligned anti-Israel. It could be like Qatar. It could be like the Saudis or something. You know, I'm not really sure, but
you do realize that there's.
Well, I mean, think about this too. A lot of the stuff they do build, it's a lot of component stuff, so it might be more like what Cacavelli's saying, where, you know, they're getting some parts from here or Turkey or whatever, and assembling, you know, these rockets and stuff. But I mean, they're obviously.
I would just like to point out about the air defense. Having fighter planes just sitting there, just being available, is a huge boon because it tremendously more complicates the attack patterns of the attacking side instead of having just a ground-based air defense, because they have to take into account possibility of engaging the enemy fighters. So it completely changes the whole calculus.
I agree, but it was already in the first few days war. mostly rockets and air attack war. But the Israelis didn't, as far as I understand, really get into Iran not with aircraft, mostly just drones.
No one can hear you at all.
Yeah, I can barely hear you, Boshin.
Okay, I will hold my microphone closer to my mouth. Is it better?
That's so much better. Thank you. That's why I was
Okay.
doing this to you.
Yeah.
Speak
So,
from
so
assurance.
I agree with Stari or with Sirkan. Having aircraft is a great thing. Just to not allow some stuff like Israeli aircraft freely flying over some parts of Iran. Because you can't have air defense on the ground everywhere. And with aircraft, you can basically protect all the area as long as you can get with your aircraft in time there. But so having some is good, and they had some already, and that's why Israelis didn't fly really with aircraft inside of Iran, just with drones mostly, as far as I understood. And only the Americans flew with the B-2 inside. At least we have a picture from a satellite claiming that. Wyatt?
Super
Commander,
chat by Johari. Whenever MSM talk about Russian losses, it's always massive, and Russian lost. But then always also the same MSN will say Russia will invade Europe. So which one? Yeah, they,
Yeah.
they'll
The
invade
famous,
with the undead soldiers. No, people never play Warcraft. No, come on.
Just to
yeah.
finish my
Putin
point,
hasn't.
just to finish my point regarding air defense, I think that it's more cost effective for the Iranians getting some ground-based air defense than aircraft, a big aircraft numbers. That's really a big issue to get a lot of them for them right now. Maybe from China, the F-10s are just have been popular, against the Rafales.
The J-10s, right?
The J-10s. What is the J? Yeah, J-10s.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the J-10s. Yeah, I mean about the super chat. The what people don't know is that Putin has an army of warlocks that can, lift the bodies of his soldiers back to life, and it's gonna be like the White Walkers, right? They're gonna
Lich
lift.
King in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, they're gonna lift all the dead and take them to invade Europe. It's gonna be fun. Um, yeah, so back to the Israel issue. What you were saying, Wyatt, about what they were saying about the like this perception of the United States tied to the hip to Israel, supporting it 100%. So like on one hand, you can see them supporting 100%, but on the other hand, you also see them sort of complaining a bit. The the population in the United States is very, it's extremely um, rejecting. It's rejecting the whole best ally narrative extremely hard. It's unbelievable, actually. I've never seen something like this.
They they,
Everyone is
they even
against
complaining
have
the
about
the
it.
public
the
Yeah, I
opinion.
ADL.
mean, it's not really the whole country. You've got specific demographics in the United States that are turning the tide, but the majority of Americans probably still support Israel. It's just that it's
You think
a
so?
larger. Oh yeah, I mean, with the boomers and people that don't pay attention, or I would say it's still a majority of people support Israel, but definitely the younger generations and certain people that are black pilled or red pilled and all that that mix into the different generations. It's probably a good amount, but I still think the older generations control the opinion, or at least the policy. And
No,
that's
yeah, I
Because
understand in terms of policy, but you can see a lot of squeaking sounds, right?
it's
Um,
starting to break down though. Yeah, I think it's starting to break down. There's this group called the ADL, right?
yeah. I mean,
The
it
this
is breaking
anti.
down, but I mean, you're still going to look at least a good decade, maybe a little longer
Yeah.
before that. changes
No,
dramatically.
But the fact
when
that
I'm
it's
talking
breaking
about-
down is already like is a bit unusual. Like because there's this group called the ADL, which is the anti-Jewish hate group in United States, which is very powerful, and they apparently under the Biden
That's a very
administration have this
interesting
relationship
story.
with the FBI or something. So, and
Yeah.
Kash Patel just cut them off because they actually labeled Charlie Kirk's movement as hate or extremist. So it basically just clashed with the MAGA entirely. They went nuts, man.
They actually had a relationship, I think, longer than that, but Biden definitely used it to enhance their power. But yeah, they've had a relationship for a while because people have been complained about it probably at least far back as Obama, because they would list anybody that I want to support homeschooling in my town. Oh, you're a white separatist, even if it was black people and Mexicans and other people involved. So they've been doing that shit for a while. I mean, if you go look at like some of the archives history of the ADL, I mean, some of the stuff they list is outrageous and ridiculous. And the way Charlie Kirk was assassinated so brutally, and then to find out they had him on the list as a white supremacist or some shit like that, or Christian nationalist. I mean, that really couldn't stand. I mean, with Trump being a friend and all the people he knew in the administration, that was, and that just highlights how ridiculous they were. I mean, you listen to the guy; he was a milquetoast conservative. Go to school, work hard, have a family, don't be a degenerate piece of shit. Go to church. I mean, yeah, he good thing they killed that Nazi because he was
but listen, Vaughn. Look, you have Matt Gates, for example. He has gone full blown anti-Israel, right? And he was almost he was almost in the the top team of
He was.
Trump.
I think they looked at him for attorney general, but he obviously didn't say enough of the right things or didn't have enough allies.
And
I have a question for Vaughn. Vaughn, did
But wait,
you?
listen.
Vaughn, okay,
Let me finish.
fine. Go ahead, Gabriel.
So, because I wanted to make a point. So you have this guy, okay, and it's very clear why he wasn't picked. Okay, it's not like everyone's talking about that. Then you have this guy Tucker, who's gone full blown. Like he's not even blaming Israel. Like what he said, the last thing he said, which was really interesting, is that you can't blame Israel or you can't blame the Jews for this because it's us Americans who are in power, and so our government is so corrupt and it's so bankrupt that it's actually taking orders from these people, but it's not these people's fault. It's our fault because we have these. So that's Tucker, and Tucker Carlson is a very mainstream guy. And then you have on the left, I can't remember this guy's name, but you have like also mainstream leftist pundits that have been picking up on this. I can't remember the names because I really don't pay much attention to them, but I've seen them
Destiny.
talking. No, not Destiny. No, more like of the mainstream media. Destiny is more like of the alternative media. But on TV, like I don't know if it's ABC or any of those. But anyways, a TV pundit, pretty mainstream, like comedian. These leftist comedians, they've started to joke about Trump's submission to Netanyahu. So you have a level of mainstream bipartisan criticism of the subservience, the apparent subservience of the U.S. to Israel. That's become a thing, and that's never been a thing. It was like always anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, you got an election cycle coming up. You've got the potential war in Iran. You don't know what the hell's going to happen in Ukraine, and I'm sure there's some other shit out there simmering. So I mean, and then after that, you got 2028. I mean, so there's not. I mean, yeah, the momentum is good. The tide seems like it's turning, but I wouldn't get my hopes up that there's going to be some big change right away. Just because, I mean, these people have power. They want to keep power. They have an agenda. They want to see it through to the end, and they're not going to give that up easily. So, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I wouldn't get my hopes up like,
Yeah. So
unless there's a
what I'm trying
drastic
to say,
turnaround during the next election cycle.
I have a question for
what
Vaughn and
I'm trying to say,
Gabriel. I have a question for you and Vaughn. Gabriel, I have a question for you and Vaughn. Are you guys updated regarding what happened in Nepal? Like the Gen Z protested and took down the government.
yeah, I
I
remember.
mean, I saw the
Yeah.
protests and shit like
Yeah.
that.
What makes you think, or what gives you the assurance that such a thing wouldn't happen to US? Because Gen Z is obviously, I don't know. It's just a speculation. I'm just asking.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of guns. I mean, the federal police and the army in DC probably wouldn't let that shit fly. I mean, you're not going to be dragging
Kids have
Congress.
guns too.
I mean, you're
These
not going to
days,
see congressmen running down the street in their underwear getting shit thrown at them. I mean, it'd be nice, but I
American
mean,
kids have guns. It's not like us. American kids do have guns.
oh, I know. I'm just
Full
saying. I mean,
clip.
it'd have to get pretty fucking crazy for us to see a congressman running down the street in his underwear in a motorcycle helmet getting hit with tomatoes and shit. I mean,
I think it's the size of the country, right? United States is so much bigger. If you have this kind of thing, it could be just one city, one state, two states, maybe all the democratic states. But then they're gonna get smacked down, because now because once they do it, they're gonna be labeled as Antifa, and then they're gonna get arrested by the Trump administration, because who knows what is Antifa right now.
But Wyatt, without a political backing, without at least some political backing, such a movement isn't possible. So I believe there's a chance. There's a chance, especially after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I guess there is a chance.
I mean, I don't know. Last night I was watching in Portland, and I don't know what changed as far as, because I get a lot of people thought the National Guard was coming in last night, but the federal police came out and they formed up a line, and they usually allow the people to be across the street and on the corner from the federal building, but they can't cross this certain line or it's trespassing, they get arrested. Well, for whatever reason last night, they pushed out and they pushed them several blocks down, and when they got to where they wanted to push them, they started lighting them up with tear gas and flashbangs, and they pretty much dispersed all the protesters last night, like really hard and quick. I mean, the tear gas was so thick, I mean, you literally couldn't see up the street to where the police line was, and I don't know what caused that, but it definitely because there was pro ICE protesters there, and they were cheering them on and loving it. But there's definitely a change of attitude, like, for what because they go out and arrest people that are doing stuff, from the crowd. But this time they just went out and just went off on them. Arrested a few people. I mean, they were like, people were standing there. They would just pull a tear gas grenade and throw it right at their feet, and they would run off, and they would just keep pushing them down the street. So there might be a little bit more, authoritarianism coming down in some of these sites, like Illinois and Portland and in Houston. I think those are the three big ones. LA, so 4 sites.
So I want to pull back a bit back onto just now the conversation about the Israel thing, the influence thing in the United States. Is that I feel like Israel's because the ADL thing, it seems to be like a state related. I think it's an Israel state funded thing, is part of their propaganda or whatever you need, or influence operations. And it seems like they are very worried that United States might actually become strong, like a real strong, in the sense that they really care about their own interests, which is why Charlie Kirk might become a threat, like because Charlie Kirk is part of the MAGA movement, is making MAGA movement works, you see. And it looks like maybe Israel do not want United States to be that strong. They want United States to be strong, but not that strong, strong to the point where they were like, no, don't care about Israel. I think maybe that was some of the undercurrent that's happening, that they are like trying to undermine the MAGA movement. The conspiracy theory that Israel might be behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk may have some basis. I'm not sure. May have.
Yeah. There's a lot of plausible. There's a lot of plausible.
Just real quick on that. I mean, since October 7th, started going bad for Israel, publicity wise. If you go on any social media, YouTube, there's constant ads for anything that would put Israel in a positive light. Learn Hebrew, learn this, do that, visit. I mean, this is what Israel is. I'm Israel. I mean, it's like nonstop. Like they've really gone, and I'm sure as the Gaza situation's gotten worse, it's just increased, by magnitudes of how much they're trying to, salvage their image and get people to support them. And that's on top of all the fundraising and begging that they do for, money.
I just want a quick point. This kind of in-person courses, right, is perfect place for influence operation, because the Chinese have the same thing called the Confucian Institute or Confucius Institute. It's the same thing. So they allegedly teach you Chinese and Chinese culture and whatnot, but it's actually part of their influence operation as well. And so I just want to say that Voin was having his finger for a long time. So.
Yeah, holding my microphone up again. So I didn't get the question from Champak really. What he was trying to ask. Did you think that in America there would be some kind of revolution against the perceived control by Israel of the politics?
By the
I, I,
by the junior generations.
I don't
Well,
believe that for a
well, here's the
second.
thing
The point
about
is, just to finish, I will be short. You know, there does not need to be just a movement like MAGA is. There need to be really activists, like the right wing movement in Ukraine before the war. And these people need to be funded, and they need to be organized, and or like the Antifa, they are organized, and someone is funding, obviously, because someone has to pay the coffee machine and whatever, the traveling costs and something, that there needs to be funds behind this. Or if you remember, there was some kind of an assassination attempt in America on this, I think from Michigan, the Gretchen governor or something. And this was also basically organized by the FBI, if I understand correctly, because half of the people involved were FBI agents, and they just, pushed these some guys into the situation, if I understood correctly. So
And
go
that's why I
on.
mentioned they would require some political backing. That's why I mentioned that in the question.
Mainly
Yeah,
financial,
Yes, financial
but
backing is
listen,
definitely.
This is I'm going to respond to what White was saying and what Tobacco was saying, and also Ocean. The America has a very bad track record in doing like mass protests, revolution, social unrest, and it has happened throughout its history, but in small quantities and very like undecisively. So the biggest thing I can remember is actually the BLM riots. Okay, that's the greatest level of um, you know revolt I've seen in the United States, and it was pretty much sanctioned by the local governments, by most of the states where it happened. It had a certain level of protection, and also it was very sponsored. It was really clearly very sponsored, and there was a massive sort of political sabotage of Trump's presidents at that moment. It was it was very clear that it was coordinated. In the same way to what Wyatt was saying about the ADL, it has been very clear that the like the political alignment of the U.S. towards Israel is very unwilling. It's very forced. They all have, like, you see Trump when he smiles with Netanyahu, you can see him, like that meme of like the hiding the pain, right? That smile of like hiding the pain, forced smile. And you see that a lot with you saw that with Biden, you see that with Trump right now. Even though he's like the best fan of Israel, he's always like kind of complaining about it, like reluctant, or forcing